Sup Peeps, I'm on the moon, and I'd like to welcome you to a new series I'm starting on my channel called I Have Never Played, where I talk about games that I have never played. And well, I've never played Bayonetta. I've owned this game for a good couple of years digitally on my Xbox and never played it. Then my old coworker at the grocery store I used to work at sold me his copy of Bayonetta for the PS3. When I told him I got a PS3, and I still haven't played it, or even plugged in that PS3. So, I finally decided to give it a shot. And
So this game first came up on the map for me after I finished playing all of the mainline Devil May Cry games. I still haven't played the reboot yet. I own it, but it's on my list. And those first came into my radar because a YouTuber I like called Eruption Fang made a DMC timeline video. I watched it like 3 times, then I played all the games, and I was like, wow, that was fun. I kinda wish there was more like it. And then about a year passed until I heard that Hideki Kamiya made another game in a similar style called Bayonetta. I had heard of the character because I used to play a lot of Smash Bros, and I thought, neat. So then I bought it, and I didn't play it. Until now. First thing I noticed when loading up the game was the Team Little Angels logo. You see, when Hideki Kamiya was working on DMC1, the team was called Team Little Devils. I don't know, I just thought it was clever. Now, I guess I should say I am no aficionado on this type of game, so if the gameplay you see is a little lackluster, that's why. And I also suck really, really hard at most things, but just because I suck doesn't mean I don't like doing those things. And this is one of those times. So the backdrop of Bayonetta is needed to understand why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing it. So the basic gist of it is, Bayonetta is a witch. Basically, there were once 2 clans, the Umbra Witches and the Lumen Sages, and together they maintained balance until one day, a sage and a witch had a child who just so happens to be Bayonetta, I'm pretty sure. I'll be honest with you, I kind of zoned out during a lot of the cutscenes for one reason or another. Okay, I just googled it, and yes, it was Bayonetta. And then there were the witch hunts, and all the Umbra Witches were wiped out, and Bayonetta was sealed away for 500 years under a lake. So the reason why she can do all this crazy stuff is because she's a witch from ancient times. And now, in the present, she has no memories, and kinda wants to get them back. Alright, so the rest of the plot revolves around finding these things called the Eyes of the World. The right eye of light and the left eye of darkness. And in order to achieve our goal of finding the eyes of the eyeballs of the sphere in space known as Earth, aka the eyes of... First, we need information. The game begins with an action sequence where Bayonetta is dressed like a nun, and then we break a car that's owned by this dude named Enzo while he was there pissing on Eggman's grave. I like Enzo, he's funny.
And I prefer my shoes made out of rubber, not concrete. My kids are baking me a birthday cake tonight. Cute little fuckers, I tell you what.
Enzo, her drinks are going on your tab, buddy. You deadbeat motherfucker.
And he gives us information on where to find the Eyes of the World, so we head out to get it. In order to do this, we need to hack and or slash through hordes of divine soldiers from heaven, angels. Bayonetta does this for money, but also to try to find out the mysteries of her past. In the Bayonetta world, there are 4 dimensions. The human world, the place where the humans and animals exist. Purgatorio, a place outside of the human world, where Bayonetta often goes to find angels and such. Paradiso, the world where the angels hail from. And Inferno, the land of the demons. The Umbra Witches had dealings with the demons, and the Lumen Sages had dealings with the angels. And because of this, Bayonetta can use this connection to summon demons through her hair. And when she does this, her outfit gets more revealing. And then once the demon's gone, it goes back to normal, which gives me the horrifying realization that her clothes are made out of her own hair. She must use a lot of conditioner. But her abilities also go far beyond this. She can also turn into a dog thing and birds, and her shadow has butterfly wings. Bayonetta, also on her adventure to find the balls of the globe, gains access to several different weapons, such as swords, whips, gauntlets, and 2 different types of guns. And using all of these things together to string together combos is incredibly satisfying. Using the X, Y, and B buttons to hack through dozens of enemies is awesome. And every single move you have in your arsenal feels good to use and like it does damage. You also have the magic gauge or whatever, and filling it up lets you pull off torture attacks that let you hang enemies or shove them into an Iron Maiden or even cut their heads off with a guillotine. They are all really sick and super fun to pull off. You can also do these climax moves on bosses where you lose all your clothes and then you beat the ever-loving shit out of them, and that is so cool. And if you hit a perfect dodge, you get Witch Time, which slows down time, making it harder for you to get hit and lets you deal damage faster. It is awesome. Honestly, the gameplay of this game is some of the best I have ever experienced in this genre. And I know I have barely experienced half of it. The combo potential in this game looks really awesome. If you have any interest, please check out Bayonetta speedrunning, or better yet, go and play the game if you haven't already. It's readily available on all modern platforms, Steam, PS5, Xbox, and Switch. And also, the keen-eyed of you would have noticed that I held up the PS3 version in the intro, but I'm playing the Xbox version here. It's because I don't feel like plugging in my PS3. There are also some mods for the Steam version, and I'd love to talk about them sometime if you're interested. Comment below. Now, as you go throughout the game, you meet new characters, like Luca, the son of a journalist who thinks Bayonetta killed his dad, and who tags along for pretty much the whole journey, and who Bayonetta teases by calling him Cheshire. And also a little girl named Cereza, who calls Bayonetta Mommy, and has a stuffed animal named Cheshire. But these two, along with Bayonetta, make up the core cast, and they're all so charming, especially Bayonetta. I honestly thought a few levels in that I was gonna hate this game. That super exaggerated, super sexualized, sexy female character is honestly one of my least favorite tropes. I had this fear that all Bayonetta was as a character was gonna be like, oh, look at her boobies! But though there is a lot of that, she has a really charming personality that I think carries the game. She has all sorts of awesome lines like,
if you get in my way, I will... How do the Americans put it? Oh yes, bust a cap in yo ass. If there's two things I hate in this world, it's cockroaches and crying babies. Well, a crying baby cockroach would be truly terrible.
And honestly, she gets me to laugh a lot. And so does Luca and Cereza. Their personalities bounce off each other so well, I just can't help it. Cereza especially, she is so adorable and must be protected. I have always loved like cute little kid characters in media, such as Anya from Spy Family or Otama from One Piece. Honestly, I want her to join the crew more than like half of the other characters. Like, she's just so cute. Anyways, these three travel through the world fighting angels, and this one lady named Jan, I don't know. But every few levels we fight these giant angels, and after climaxing all over them, that sounded way better when I wrote it down in the script. They all tell us that the Creator Jubileus shall bless us or whatever. And sometimes Bayonetta hears a voice in her head, and it's all like, my child, I'm being ominous. Ooh. But all of these events have to happen in places, right? So, level design. And man, honestly, the levels in this game are really, really cool. There are a lot of varying locations in which to slash through the bad guys, and some really pretty land and cityscapes, cool compounds and lava worlds, and even a level that takes place on a plane. It really gets across a sense of adventure, and I honestly love it. But that's not to say that the level design is flawless, however. There are some parts that I think could have used a little more time in the oven, in my opinion. Case in point, the missile level. There's a section of one of the last levels that has Bayonetta, Luca, and Cereza ride on a missile. And boy is this part bad. It's just flying in a straight line for like 10 minutes, and it feels longer. I could have gotten married and had 3 kids and died in the 8 minutes it took for me to finish this part. Then there's a boss fight at the end, and the best way to beat him is just spin in a circle for like 30 seconds at a time. Thank God I didn't vomit. Imagine looking at this for 8 minutes straight. I've always hated sections like this in adventure games. There's so many of them in Sonic games, and they're always my least favorite parts. They're dumb and always half-baked. If you're going to put them in a game, at least make them fun. Then there's also the section in the last level where you need to fight the same boss, but this time you're on an AA gun, where you have to shoot these green things and then hit it in the face with your gun, and it is not fun. When the core game is as solid as it is, all this filler content isn't really needed. I mean, this game has an example of exactly the kind of filler content games like this should have. There's a mini game you can play after beating levels where you shoot demons for points, and then you can convert those points to rings or buy items. The game lasts as long as you want, normally 30 seconds to a minute, and it gets you useful rewards, or the second motorcycle segment, like 3 minutes, in and out. This kind of stuff is exactly what I would have wanted out of the rest of it. A nice short pace breaker, but no, they're just really long, boring segments of levels. I think that is a damn shame when the rest of the game is just so solid. I honestly don't know how they made a section of a game where you ride on a missile and use an AA gun so boring. But anyways, it's not a big deal at the end of the day. I still loved this game, but I really hope these aren't in the sequels, or at least they're better in them. Anyways, after the missile section, we land on the roof of a building, and then Luke and Cereza get blown up, and we fight Jean, I don't know, for like the 4th time. And she's another Umbaran witch, so her moveset is incredibly similar to yours, so her boss fights are very fun. Just, you fight her a lot, so it gets a little tiring by the final fight. Though the last one is honestly really sick. There's a lot of buildings falling over and running on walls and fighting on missiles and stuff. And it is honestly probably the second best boss fight in the game. And after we beat Jean for the 4th time, she's like, the left eye, and then dies from an explosion. And as it turns out, she was actually Bayonetta's friend 500 years ago. Turns out Luke and Cereza didn't get bloated up, and then we hear the weird voice, and Cereza runs to the light saying that she can hear Daddy. And we follow suit and fight through this big tower, and as I've said in the past, I think fighting my way up towers is one of my favorite things in video games, and it's also a boss rush, so it's the best level in the game. And at the end, we meet the last Lumen Sage, and as it turns out, he's Bayonetta's dad. And he killed Luca's dad, and that Cereza is the child version of Bayonetta, and that he's the right eye of the world, and Bayonetta is the left eye, and that big statue is Jubileus, and that he's been the one pulling the strings, and that Jean Germs was brainwashed or something. It's a lot of info dumped right at the end, but it was all alluded to pretty well throughout the game. And then we fight Bayonetta's dad and win, and she like fuses with her past self, and she sings herself a lullaby that she was always sung when she was a child, which is Fly Me to the Moon. And then she gets paralyzed or whatever, and then her dad, who didn't die, comes over and is like, "At last you have awakened us the left eye, now we shall become Jubileus." And then he shoves himself and Bayonetta into the eyes of the big statue in his corporate building, and then the building turns into a rocket ship and launches into space. And as it turns out, Jean was under mind control, and she isn't anymore, and she escaped the bombing, and then she got on a motorcycle, and then she uses witch time to drive up the falling debris of the building, and then up the side of the rocket while blasting angels, and then when she gets to the statue and rips Bayonetta out of the eye, and then the sage guy is like, "Oh, looks like I'm gonna die, and no one will be able to stop Jubileus now." Jean falls into the void of space, and now Bayonetta has to fight God. It's a pretty tough boss fight, but it's awesome. Jubileus takes the form of a giant stone Bayonetta, and then Bayonetta goes all out and kicks its rocky ass to one of the best final boss tracks I have ever experienced, and now it is stuck in my head. If you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. And then when you win, you send Jubileus' soul or whatever flying into the sun with the help of Jean, who did the same thing again with the motorcycle, and then you two blow up the remains of Jubileus, and the game ends with you falling towards Earth. We then cut to Bayonetta's funeral, and Jean is pretending to be a nun, just like at the start of the game, when Bayonetta was. And then she's like, "That's the last time I cosplay," and then Bayonetta comes out of a coffin and they start fighting some angels to end the game. This has to be the most insane and creative ending to any game I have ever played. And it is awesome. There's still more though. The credit sequence starts off letting you do a few battles like at the end of the Devil May Cry games, and I love this trope. And then we cut to Bayonetta pole dancing to a cover of Fly Me to the Moon. And then after the credits, there's a 5-minute long dance sequence where Bayonetta and all the other characters are just dancing in all the levels. Imagine any other thing you've seen or played ending like this after you finish it. Or even if that happens after this video ends. And that's only the ending. There's all sorts of other stuff, like the time this one angel turns into Bayonetta, and then the fake Bayonetta and real Bayonetta have a pose off, and then a green light starts emanating from the fake Bayonetta's crotch, and then she turns into an angel. And I could go on, but I think this video's long enough as it is. So let's end it.
Bayonetta is one of the best games I have ever played. And I really want to play the sequels now. I think the game is fun and the story is insane, and honestly it's one of the most things I have ever experienced in a good way. If you haven't played Bayonetta and made it this far in the video, please consider checking it out, especially if you like Devil May Cry or other Platinum games. I am now a Bayonetta fan, and I think more people need to play her games. Now, let me know if you want me to cover the sequels and spin-offs, because I really want to play them, but I don't know if people will watch this video and want more Bayo stuff, so let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Most likely Zelda again. Peace.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
Sup peeps, N-Card Bardy here. You know, it's me, it's your boy N-Card Bardy. I'm just here to say thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun making and playing Bayonetta, and I really want to play the sequels eventually, but yeah, I'll be back to working on Zelda. I know I said that it'll be in the next one, but if I'm trying to do a new video every Monday, don't know if that'll really be possible, but yeah, if not, I'll have a smaller, shorter video out then for that. But yeah, Bayonetta was awesome, and I really want to play the next couple. You guys should go check out my friend Custom Metalwork Creations on Instagram. He's the one who made me that cool pistol that I had when I was dancing and stuff. So that's cool. Hope you like that dance video. If you want me to make a full version of that, or add like a cover or whatever, like finish the cover, let me know. I will. Anyways, bye. I meant please like, comment, and subscribe. Peace!